Hi there YouTubers and 00 Railway fans, welcome to my latest project. As you can see, I have two Jinties and I'm calling this a brace of Jinties. These two particular locomotives each came with a princess locomotive which I purchased from eBay. So I got two for the price of one, if you like, twice. Because this one came with a princess and this one came with a princess. This one here came with Princess Victoria, which also had a tender and two chocolate and cream wagon coaches. So I was quite pleased with that. Sorry about yawn there. This one came with a rather poor condition Princess Elizabeth, which I'm still working on, and this one seemed to be, as I look at it, seems to be maybe going to be in poorer condition. This one's got a much nicer case. They both came as spares of repair, so I have no idea how good they are. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is mark them as 1 and 2. Put 1 on there and 2 there. Let's put 2 over here for the time being. I'll bring in my rolling load, set up my first Jinty, just to get an idea if there's any life in it, any power. These are untested. Sold as spares of repair. Oh, there's some kind of life in there, but not a lot. Right, let's try the other one. Oh, that seems to be lively, but just goes 1 turn. So, obviously, both needing a little bit of attention. At this point, I'm going to concentrate on locomotive number 1. So let's get the top off and see what happens. This is a later model because it has the through the body screw. That kind of frees up the chimney for a smoke unit. So does this mean that I've got a smoke unit in here? Well, we're soon going to find out. And it's not a smoke unit connected. Although it does say in here SS, so it's been prepared for a smoke unit. And all I need to do is remove this block here and fit one of the small Triang 31392 smoke units. Looking at the back of the motor, it's complete, it's insulated, it looks as if nothing's been done to it. There is in fact a little paper clip hooked on there, a staple I should say, so that's not going to help it. But other than that, it looks as if it's as the day it was made. It probably just needs a good clean. I'm going to remove the motor and we'll take it from there. So I'll be back shortly. Well, I've removed the motor and the brushes, and if you look closely at the brushes, you can see that they are fairly worn down. I'll try and get them to focus in the camera's lens, and they have been well used, so that isn't going to help any. Looking at the motor itself, no apparent damage, but I'll need to check the armatures. So this is where my trusty little meter comes in. if you have any of these XO4 motors and you want to work on them, I would draw your attention to a terrific video made by a guy called John, who runs a YouTube site called Chams123, and he does an excellent video on testing these little motors. How to strip it down, how to clean it all, test it, put it all back together again. My meter is on ohms, and I'm going to test these coils. That's covered in guns, so it's hard to make a good contact, so I'll try up there. That doesn't look too good. I'll try the next one. That's better. Try the second pair. And back to the third pair again. And that's good. If you think of the coils, there are 3 of them because it's a 3-pole motor, and you've got one coil between 2 connectors, you've got another coil between 2 connectors, and you've got a third coil between 2 connectors, and as these rotate on the armature, each coil is alternately acted on. Because they're in series, if you take a meter across any coil, then because that coil is in parallel with these 2 coils, you should always get the same reading. If any of these are short circuit or open circuit, 2 readings will be the same and 1 reading will be different. I checked these 3 and all the readings are the same, which means that the coils are okay. That's good. Now, what I need to do is clean what we call the armature. That is this copper collar that connects the brushes to the coils. That's how the current flows through here into there. And over the years, the carbon wears and it produces a coating onto the armature. That has to be removed because it does in fact introduce a resistive path to the current. That means that the motor will not be as efficient with this carbon coated collar than it would be without. And as you can see, as I'm rubbing, that my cotton bud is becoming rather dark. But to compensate for that, my copper collar is now becoming bright. So just try and take any excess fluid off. Good. Now John from Chams123 recommends that you take a little pin or a needle and clean the grooves that separate each of the 3 sections of the collar. As it happens, I don't have a needle with me, so I'm going to get that done. I could maybe use the end of the spring to try and clean it out. And you can see, I don't know if you can actually, but there is a carbon smear which shows that I've taken some carbon from the groove. Try this one as well. Another carbon smear, and the third one. If you have a needle or a fine pin you can just carefully scrape the carbon away. So that's now looking good. There's some grunge underneath there, so I'm just going to give it a little clean, build up. See that? Oops, see that? Yep, that just came out from there. The bearings of this motor consist of two fibre washers, and they're intended as oil reservoir. And I like to just put a good old splash of this stuff onto the top, and that will soak in, and it acts as a reservoir so that it will keep lubricated for many years of running. And that doesn't look too bad. Now, I managed to pick up a couple of packets of these. It's the X67 brushes. They come in packs of 4. They're apparently original. I mean, look at the price on that. Can you see that? 13 pence for 4 brushes. What do you get on eBay? About £4 a pair. I got these for roughly £2 a pair, so I don't think I did too badly. The brushes are a bit tarnished, so might need a wee bit cleaning up, but they're virtually brand new, and these will suffice back in here. Now, the contact is made through this spring which sits on top of the motor, like so. This exposed leg of the spring is the negative pole of the motor, so I'm just going to insert a brush in there. Spring holds it in place. This leg of the spring contains an insulating bush because that is attached to the positive pole of the motor. Because the power is applied to here from a wire that comes up from the pickup. So these have to be insulated. Otherwise you'll get a short circuit. At this point I can test my motor. I've got a little bit of power applied in there, and can you see the motor turning? Reverse the power, and I haven't got a lot of power applied here. She's running very smoothly. Does make a little bit of noise. Some tend to make more noise than others. I don't know why. Anyway, that's now a good working motor. Incidentally, I don't throw these away because I have bought sometime in the past a packet of brush heads. They don't come up very often. It came in a pack of 30. That gives me 15 new pairs of brushes. If you see them, I recommend you go for them. But hey, if I'm bidding, don't go too high. Remember who told you. Anyway, I'm just going to put these aside. And my next task is to have a look at the chassis. It's a bit murky looking. A bit murky indeed. So it'll probably have a good clean up. Type 3 couplers. Not too bad. Yeah, as I try to turn that, you can tell it's not really smooth. It's needing a good clean, a good lubrication. Needs a bit of effort in there. So my next task will be to strip this down, give it a good clean and rebuild it. So let me get that done and I'll get back to you when I can. Well, that's the motor cleaned, brushes replaced, the wheel bearings all cleaned out. Did you see the amount of guns that come out of the drive wheels? Now all I have to do is try her on my rolling road. So let's bring in the rolling road again. Clear a wee space. And let's see what happens now. Hardly any power at all. Still a little bit of squeak. That means maybe the oil hasn't penetrated through the bearings yet. And in reverse, it's looking pretty good. Our next step will be to fit the coin rods. Coin rods, which I think look like an X516, 515 pair. And what I'm just going to do is give them a little bit of a clean before I put them back. And similarly here. And the two coin rod screws are now ready in there. Now these are not identical pairs, they have to go on the correct way. These little tabs simulate the oil wells that the engineer would fill whenever they're stopped, and when you put these on front and back, the middle wheel has to line up. That doesn't, so it's probably the wrong side. So let's try the other coin rod. That goes in there and there, and there we have it, lines up. The screw sits in there, and my little screwdriver just goes in there nicely. Take the other side, and there, and the screw. This is the moment of truth. Will the Jinty respond to a little bit of treatment? Let's go. It's not working under load. Of course, one thing I haven't done yet is I didn't put any oil in here. Now let's see if it makes a difference. Yeah. Sometimes you neglect one little bit and that can make a difference. I think that might still be the drive wheels needing a wee bit more cleaning. Let's try the other way. Yeah, I think there's still a wee bit of cleaning needing done. So there we have it, one Jinty, stripped down, cleaned, new brushes, reassembled, oiled, tested, back in running order. Not bad for something that came with a different locomotive. So really, I've had this Jinty for nothing more than the price of a pair of brushes. Not a bad bargain, eh? Okay, let's leave that and we'll move on to the second Jinty. First Jinty working. Here is the second Jinty. Looking at it, it's a bit kind of dusty looking. Maybe hasn't been used in a long time. It also has a chassis retaining screw to allow for a smoke unit. Looking a bit unkempt, looking at the bottom. We've got a lot of fluff here. So it looks as if it too will need a really good clean. Anyway, let's get it opened up and see what we've got. The decals are not bad condition. The boiler trim and the cab trim seem to be reasonably complete. The numbers are very readable. So, and as we open it up, the body is in good condition. It's all sets of steps, both buffers at the front and the back. And inside we have a smoke unit which looks complete, and again it doesn't look as if it's had an awful lot of work done to it since the day it was made. Anyway, let's try it on our rolling road. The motor's trying to turn, but then it kind of sticks. You can feel it trying to work. I'm almost in full power. No, it's not working that way. Try it reverse. It's not wanting to work very well. Okay, that's fair enough. So, let's try and see if cleaning up the motor. We'll have to clean all the gears here in between the wheels. The contact plates, they'll need cleaning as well. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, quite simply, strip it down, give it a good clean, see how the brushes are, and if necessary, change anything. So let's leave it at that, and I'll be back shortly. Well, since I left you, I removed the motor, stripped it down, cleaned the armature, checked it for resistance, it's good, replaced it with 2 new brushes, tested it, and I've cleaned the motor, the wheels. They were all gunged up, so I had to clean and lubricate them. Front wheels are running not too bad. The back wheels are still a bit sluggish, so I might have some work to do in that yet. And then I put it all back together and I've tested it. I don't have the pickup plate on it yet, but I can still test it at this point with my rolling road. my negative lead onto the chassis somewhere and my positive lead onto here, and hopefully wind this up, and there she goes, looking pretty good, hardly any power at all, and give it a bit more juice, and there she is. What I'm hoping for is to see smoke come out of this. But sadly, there isn't any. So obviously there's still a problem with the smoke unit. I put some oil in. I checked the element. It seemed to provide continuity. So there might be something else missing. Maybe this little contact here is needing attention. I'll have to work on that later on. Right, let's get it off. And I'll check out this smoke unit and see if I can get it to run. Right, I opened up the smoke unit. The element is okay, however the ends are a bit tarnished, as was the inside of this connector contact. So I cleaned it all, re-stuffed it with a wad, put a bit more oil in it, and now let's see what happens. It requires to be run at a fairly high speed, but there you can see she's smoking away. And the little piston gives it the puff puff effect. Yep. So the smoke unit is now working. So this little baby has come from being very, very awkward to move, and it's now almost ready for completion. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect this up here, the suppressor, then I'll connect the pickup plate, and then we'll see her running. Okay, be back shortly. At this stage, I've hooked up the pickup, I've connected it to the power lead, the positive pole, and I've connected it to the suppressor. So I'm now going to apply power and see if she will run. Motor's going. Let's just put a wee bit of power on to get the smoke effect. And yes, I can see the smoke. Yes, you can see it there. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, nice. Okay, let's fit the con rods and get her running. Okay, now let's fit the con rods. In this Jinty, the con rods come with this little bit behind the center driving wheel, and it goes to the front. So for the right hand side, this con rod with the oil well simulator goes here, and when you line them up, all three holes should be in line. They are, because these are not identical con rods. And find my little screwdriver. Here we go. It's not the right one, but we'll do. Okay. And similarly with the other side. And this should just sit on there. And the screw fits in there. I just need to locate my little screwdriver, which I use specifically for that. Oops, sorry guys. This is live, Here we are, hiding. Right, and in there, carefully. And on the other side as well. So, we should now see our little Jinty puffing away, if all's gone well. I'm just taking a wee bit of time, probably that rear drive wheel. And I know that my rolling road has got a very poor connection. But once it starts, it should be okay. Come on, baby. Yep, this is live. There's one little job I would still like to do, just to kind of give it a good look, and that is replace the couplers. They look as if they've been bent and a bit of rust on the back one. So I'm just going to remove these. Oops. And these appear to be X171 couplers. And I have here some new X171s. And give it a nice, well cared for look. And there. And the second one at the other end. Lovely. Right, let's go to the track and let her run, see what happens. There she is on the track. So let's just see what happens when I apply some power. There she goes, pretty smoothly away. Trying to keep an eye on the smoke box, maybe needs a bit more current. And the back. Oops. Pick her up as she comes back towards us. Oops. Well, it's certainly running smoothly enough. I don't see any smoke. Maybe it needs some more oil. Right, let's stop and put it into the other direction. Job well done with that. I have cleaned up the body a wee bit and now ready to put it all together. And there. Just make sure all the wires are out the way. There's not a lot of room, and when you put it in, make sure that they don't get snagged on the armature of the motor. So just very carefully ease it in, and it should sink down low enough for the fixing hole to come through. If it doesn't, probably a cable cut somewhere. I think that's in there. and that's it. You can just see fixing hole through there. And in she goes. One. Nicely cleaned up, Jinty. So, there we have it. A brace of Jinties that basically cost me nothing because I really bought the other locomotive they came with. And in fact, this one here I got free, which is a long story. I won't bore you with it. Basically had a dispute with the seller and eventually I got a refund. Both Jinties, working order, and I don't know what to do with them. I'll probably put them on eBay for someone else to enjoy. These would look lovely going round a nice little layout. Okay, well, thanks for watching my little brace of Jinties, and just keep watching. If you like it, please comment favourably, and if you're into repairing these locomotives, why don't you subscribe and we'll share ideas. Okay, thanks for watching. Keep watching YouTube. Bye for now.